Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so we're reading from Bhagavad-gita, and we have fresh new Gitas there. So if you want to pass them around, that'd be great. Thank you to Madhuha Prabhu. He manifested my desire to have Bhagavad Gitas here today.
Oh,
I
nice.
didn't have any. That one I had like one, but so thank you. So we're going to read from chapter 12, texts 13 and 14. And we'll read first and then we'll share. But let's see. So let's see. We'll do the Sanskrit words. Adveshta,
Adveshta,
Sarvabhutanam,
Sarvabhutanam,
Maitra,
Maitra,
Karuna,
Karuna,
Eva,
Eva,
Cha,
Cha,
Nirmama,
Nirmama,
Nir Ahankara,
Nirahankara,
Sama,
Sama,
Dukkha, Sukha,
Sukha,
Shami,
Shami,
Santushta,
Santushta,
Satatam,
Satatam,
Yogi,
Yogi,
Yatatma,
Yatatma,
Tridanishchaya,
Tridanishchaya,
Mahi,
Mayi,
Arpita,
Arpita,
Mana, Buddhi,
Buddhi,
Ya,
Ya,
Mat Bhakta,
Bhakta,
Same Priya,
Same Priya,
Adveshta Sarvabhutanam,
Visas,
Maitra Karuna Evacha,
Maitra, Vacha,
Nirmamo Nir Ahankara,
Karuna,
Samadukha Sukhakshami,
Samgasakashami,
Santushta Satatam Yogi,
Sadadadam,
Yatmatma, Yatsatma Dridha Nishchaya,
Yatsat,
Vayarpita Mano Buddhir, Yo Madbhakta Same Priya.
Yoma, Same Priya,
Anyone else like to share the verse? Recite the verse. Adveshta Sarvabhutanam, Sarvabhutanam, Karuna Evacha,
Maitra,
Evacha, Nirmamo Nirankara,
Nirmamo,
Samadukha Sukhakshami,
Samadukha Sukhakshami,
Santushta Satatam Yogi,
Santushta Satatam
Yogi, Yatatma Drida Nishchaya,
Yatatma
Drida Nishchaya, Mayapita Manobudir,
Mayapita Manobudir,
Yomadvakta Same Priya,
Yomadvakta Same
Priya,
Advesta Sarvabhutanam,
Adveshta Sarvabhutanam,
Maitra Karuna Evacha,
Maitra Karuna Evacha,
Nirmamo Nirahankara,
Nirmamo Nirahankara,
Dukkha Sukhakshami,
Samadukha Sukashami,
Santusta Satatam Yogi,
Santushta Satatam Yogi,
Yatatma Drida Nischaya,
Yatatma Drida Nishchaya,
Mayarpita Manobhutir,
Mayapita Manobudir,
Yomad Bhakta Same Priya,
Yomadvakta Same Priya, Advesta Sarvabhutanam,
Adveshta Sarvabhutanam
Maitra Karuna Eva Cha
Maitra Karuna Eva Cha
Nirmamo Nirahankara
Nirmamo Nirahankara
Samadhuka Sukha Sami
Samadhuka Sukha Shami
Santushta Satatam Yogi
Santushta Satatam Yogi
Yatatvam Drita Nishchaya
Yatatma Drida Nishchaya
Maya Pita Mano Buddhir
Maya Pita Mano Buddhir
Bhakta Same Priya
Yom Dasame Priya.
Would anyone else like to recite the verses? Okay, we'll do the word for word translation now. Adveshta,
Adveshta,
not envious.
not envious.
Sarvabhutanam,
Sarvabhutanam,
for all living entities.
for all living entities.
Maitra,
Maitra,
friendly.
friendly.
Karuna,
Karuna,
kindly.
kindly.
Eva,
Eva,
certainly.
certain.
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also.
Nirmama,
Nirmama,
with no sense of proprietorship.
with no sense of proprietorship.
Nirahankara,
Nirmama,
without false ego.
ego.
Sama,
Sama,
equaling.
equally.
Dukkha,
Dukkha,
distress.
distress.
Sukha,
Sukha,
happiness.
happiness.
Shami,
Shami,
forgiving.
forgiving.
Santushta,
Satisfied.
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 Satatam, satisfied. Yogi,
Yogi,
engaged in devotion.
engaged in devotion.
Yata Atma,
Yata,
endeavoring.
endeavoring.
Drida Nishchaya, with determination.
With determination.
Mayi, upon me.
Upon me.
Arpita,
Arpita,
engaged.
engaged.
Mana,
Mana,
might.
might.
Buddhi,
Buddhi,
intelligent.
intelligent.
Ya,
Ya,
one who.
wonder.
Mat Bhakta,
Matmakta,
my devotee.
my devotion.
Same Priya,
Same,
he is dear to me.
is testing.
Translation. One who is not envious, but who is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego and equal both in happiness and distress, who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me. He is very dear to me. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualifications of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor is he envious of anyone, nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks that one is acting as his enemy due to his own past misdeeds. Thus it is better to suffer than to protest. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Tate nukampam susamikshayamano. Whenever a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than I am suffering now. So it is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I am just getting a little by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is always calm, quiet, and patient, despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is also kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Nirmama means that a devotee does not attach much importance to the peace and trouble pertaining to the body, because he knows perfectly well that he is not the material body. He does not identify with the body. Therefore, he is freed from the conception of false ego and is equiposed both in happiness and distress. He is tolerant and he is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavor much to achieve something with great difficulty, Therefore, he is always joyful. He is a completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master. And because his senses are controlled, he is determined. He is not swayed by false argument because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is fully conscious that Krishna is the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All his qualifications enable him to depend entirely on the Supreme Lord. Such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare, but a devotee becomes situated in that stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is always pleased with all his activities in full Krishna consciousness. Say that implication. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Visham Shavitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Nadati Svaparantikam Andeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishakanu Sute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhedachaka Atitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Svadash Jatadesha Tarine. Welcome. Hare Krishna. So I'll state the verse again. Hi, welcome. One who is not envious, one who is not envious, but who is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego and equal in both happiness and distress, who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me, is very dear to me. So, welcome to this program. I was inspired. Welcome. Hi. I was inspired to invite Mother Melanie to give a class, and she's not giving the class now. I am, and so.
What a turn of events.
Yeah, what a turn of events. Here we are. This is the moment the class
You
begins.
invited yourself to give class in turn of events.
Well, without going into all the details, I did think who could give the class next, and I even asked someone, and then I really just felt so connected to the topic because I was the one who requested the topic, and Mother Melanie and I were going back and forth about the verses, and I was, really into it and really excited. And this topic about the way of the saint, saintly qualities and saintly, action and deed and word. And I've been meditating on that topic, and I even feel like that's a topic for the year for 2025 for me, is just the qualities of the saints. And I just didn't want to give the class much else. I didn't want to go down the list and try to give the class away because I just I was really excited. So I felt like it was her mother Molly and I figured out that this was my class to give, and and so here we go. So how shall I begin? I mean, I have notes. I have some notes here, but I also want to be in the present moment. Not just read down a piece of paper. um, so I'll just share that this verse is one of 5 or 6 in a row. I'll go ahead and this may be the first one. This might be the first one where it's like a series of verses where Krishna is describing the qualities of the devotee. And at the end, he says, is very dear to me. At like every verse ends with, is very dear to me. And then the last one, very, very dear to me. So I think I'll just go through that for a moment to get the picture of these qualities that are very dear to Krishna. So I read the first one, and then I'll just read through the 5 more verses. He for whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anxiety, who is steady in happiness and distress, is very dear to me. A devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and who does not strive for some result, is very dear to me. One who neither grasps pleasure or grief, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, is very dear to me. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equiposed in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contamination, always silent, satisfied with anything, who does not care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and engaged in devotional service, is very dear to me. And then he who follows this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engages himself with faith, making me the supreme goal, is very, very dear to me. So these are saintly qualities. These are qualities of the pure devotee as well. And, why so the title of the class is The Way of the Saint. And, why should we consider what the way of the saint is, and what are different paths to follow, like what mindset and what qualities are we going down if we're not following the way of the saint. And ultimately, there's so many ways to go in life, so many paths to take, not just a spiritual path, but like I'm thinking like the inner motivation or the inner mindset of the soul. We can be going down a path of trying to increase our finances, or we can be going down the activist path, or we can be going down the rebels path, or the capitalist path, or the good person path, like just trying to be a good person, like there's so many principles to live by, and so many endeavors and goals that one could have. And then there are people who choose a saintly path, and we're connected to that by listening to and following Srila Prabhupada and trying to learn about bhakti yoga, which is synonymous with the saintly path in life. Bhakti meaning devotional service to God, and that is how the saints in this world, we can learn from them, from their example. And I have a lot of stories and examples today. I wanted to bring examples of these qualities stated in this verse. And I'm excited to share some of those stories, those quotes about the saintly behavior, to kind of give us a demonstration, an example. So, this is one thing. His mother, Melanie, and I also, we discussed the direction she would take her class and the direction that was coming to mind for me to take the class. And so the one thing that I got from her was this idea, like, why even follow the way of the saint? And ultimately, if we're not following the saintly path and cultivating those qualities and that mood and that approach to life, which is in devotion to our Creator, then we're doing something for our own agenda. We have a personal agenda, because it's either we're in devotion fully to God, or I mean, it could be mixed. Like, it's not just like either or, black and white. But if we're not in devotion to God, to our eternal source and Creator, then we have a mixed motivation or agenda or goal, and we're wanting things to go our way, like we're having selfish desires, because God is not just like, oh, he created us so we have to serve him, but he's like the absolute truth. He like, what do I want to say? It's like whatever the absolute truth is about reality, it's completely in alignment with our source and with God. So to be out of alignment and to not be in devotion to the absolute truth, we're by definition we're serving some sort of illusion. So a selfish or separate desire that's not connected to the absolute truth. So there's some sort of big ignorance going on there, or personal separate agenda than the supreme truth. And there's a verse in there's a few sentences by Prabhupada in a purport in Bhagavad-gita, chapter 15, text 20, where he's describing like, anyway, I'll just read it. While performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that one increases the propensity of lording it over material nature. He becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. So lording it over material nature, this is like the separate agenda that we have, and how we got into this predicament of existing in a temporary location and the temporary lifetime, temporary body. It's we're not in alignment with the Supreme Lord, and so we are designated to come to a location like this to fulfill our desires. Krishna gives us an opportunity to fulfill the soul's desires, maybe not the actual soul. The soul itself probably is desiring full, complete devotional service, but false ego, we have a false identity separate from our original identity. You may I'm feeling a little self-conscious, but anyway, so we develop a weakness for desiring to possess things in the material world, to have them as our own, to call them mine, to identify with them, and then to increase, as he says, to increase the propensity for lording it over material nature. So this is like the weakness that we have right now, the situation that we were in. At least I know for me, maybe all of you are pure devotees, and I know I'm just over here in my weakness. But anyway, so that's the path we're going down, and we can learn something from the saintly path. And actually, so all these verses, they end with "very dear to me." And I thought about that, like, when I was talking with my husband, Garuda, that we're all connected eternally to God. We're all connected, but there's different qualities of that connection, and or like even closeness, like there's not like even the people, even those souls who are really demonic and anti-God and wanting to do things to bring people away from God, even those souls, they're still connected to God, because there's still Paramatma existing in their heart, and there's just no way to be separated completely from God, but they can get very far away. And then to become very dear to Krishna, to God, is when the soul is cultivating like devotional qualities. And I created like a little scale, a little image. I mean, you can't really see it because it's just from my notes, but it's like, let's say that this is the devotional side, the altar's here. So there's the people there's souls who are inimical to God, who have like an agenda against God. They're like demonic. And I realized that there's gradations towards closeness to God. And this is maybe just from my own mindset, just for my own fun, but I'll go ahead and share it with you because I don't know if this is helpful to anyone, like, but, okay, well, I'll pause and say what the middle is, because the middle, there's like four types of pious people, and I listened to a purport by Srila Prabhupada on this verse, and he shared about those four types, people that approach God. So they're pious because they're approaching God, but they're not really approaching God with devotion, but it can approach God for a desire of like sustenance, like need of food, or to just sustenance. I maybe have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're just needing like money or resources. And then I think a little bit above that is people who are distressed. I'm not sure which order it is, but people who are distressed and like having, feeling stress or having problems, they pray to God or turn to God. And then a little bit above that is people who are curious. They're not really feeling devotional, but they're curious. And then above that, people who are even more so, they're seeking truth. So those are the four types of pious people who approach God. And so that from those people, they've already started to turn towards God, to pray or to ask for things. And it's not pure devotion, but those souls are beginning to turn to God. And so there's the demons, and then the atheists. Some atheists they're not really like against God. They're just like, I don't believe there's a God. So there's like even a gradation for those people who are not in devotion to God. Demonic people against God and actively pulling people away. Then the atheists are not helping, but it could be neutral. They have different moods. Like actually demons, if they believe in God, maybe they're closer to God because they believe in God. He exists. Maybe atheists are rude. They're not even acknowledging the existence of God. So I don't know, but I guess I can't really say what's in their hearts. But then there's agnostic people who are, I don't know, either way, I'm open to God. Not maybe they're not open, maybe they don't care. There's gradations within agnostic of closeness, right? And then or like purity, but eventually become open and start to turn to God and pray and ask for what you may want or need personally. And then there's as we get closer to pure devotion, there's reverence. There's like just a reverence for God, which is like a helpful mood for us to start to connect to, respect and reverence for God. And even further, I'm not really, all of these can be sort of mixed and overlapped a little bit, but there's people who are practicing devotion to God, which also we can fall into that category. I mean, I can relate to all of them in different parts of my life. Not demonic, I guess, but probably, I don't know who do it. Atheist, yes. I've been all the way down to the atheist category, so and I've definitely done things that don't support other people's God consciousness. So yeah. Anyway, so then there's like practicing regulating yourself, regulating your life and your lifestyle to try to be open to serve God and to do devotional activities, practicing like, chanting the names of God, praying. There's things where you're starting to practice. And then as there's even gradations between that step and the full 100% pure devotion, there's gradations in there too. Prema, Baba, I don't know even what they are, but there's different stages of love of God. So today we're going to be hearing from those who made it or who always were in the pure devotional stage. And I'll just share personally, like what I really like and what I'm excited to share with you is hearing their words themselves, especially some Christian saints and Christian Catholic saints. Like when you hear from them directly, you're like, oh my gosh, like it really brings it to life that it exists. So I'm excited to share that. And anyway, I'll just get into it before I share anymore. So in this verse, we hear that we're going to hear examples of Prabhupada and Lord Jesus Christ. Okay. So, and there's some Vaishnava saints too that I'll discuss. So one of the qualities in this verse is being not envious and being a kind friend to all living entities. And so, there's so many examples. Srila Prabhupada exhibited the 26 qualities of the pure devotee. And I'm not going to repeat all those 26, but I really like that list of 26 devotees. Like I like these lists and these verses that go on and on, like painting a whole picture, because like you could kind of get pulled into the whole mood of it. I mean, we could just take one quality and just look at that one, but it's nice to look at like that there's like a whole set of qualities that the saints and the pure devotees can, contain. Can we close the windows? Can you close the windows? Thank you. This just helped me focus. So one example that's of from Srila Prabhupada being a kind friend to all living entities. I don't know the whole story, but I'll just briefly share that there was I think before, no, I think it was during his like once Srila Prabhupada launched his mission in like 1960. It was after 1965, I believe. Yeah, where and maybe it was before he started to be interested in this particular property called Juhu Beach, and you might be able to help me with anything I share, but Juhu Beach. So he envisioned that this property on the beach would be nice for a Radha Krishna temple, and he made efforts to purchase the land. And I think that the owner was offensive and cheating. Like I think he sold it twice to different people or 2 or 3 times. Like he had 2 or 3 deals going, and it actually took. Okay, I saw the number 13 and I saw the number 7. So I think it was maybe 13 years from the vision, but 7 intense years of battling this Mr. Nair, I think is his name. And so Prabhupada was in this 7-year battle. And actually, he said it was a good story. Someone should write a book about it. And one of his disciples did write a book detailing all that happened in the trials of trying to purchase this property. Like, he didn't give up and he spent a lot of time. He spent, a lot of time in court and trying to sue the person, like trying to, like not giving up on getting property. But he was very friendly to Mr. Nair. He was cordial, tactful. He was had very devotional qualities and just a lot of respect for him, even though he was in this battle. Anyway, so he was he didn't make Nair his enemy, although he didn't give up on having his vision completed, which is a nice example of like, because a lot of times we think like, oh, I'm humble, like I'll just walk away, but like you can still be assertive for what you stand for. Like he stood for there being a Radha Krishna temple there at that property. He did eventually get it. And I think the temple opened like a year after Srila Prabhupada departed. Like his disciples did follow through with the vision and help him and creating that vision. Another example of being kind to all living entities is Lord Jesus Christ on the cross. He said, Father, forgive them, for they do not what they do. Like for they know not what they do. So Jesus Christ prayed for those who put him on the cross to kill the pure devotee, which is offensive, and it's a terrible act to offend or kill the pure devotee. But Jesus Christ himself felt compassion for those souls and asked for forgiveness for them, which is incredible. It's more than just being a kind friend. It's just it's merciful. It's a great mercy that the pure devotees give. And the next quality that if I'm like, I don't know, I'm a little self-conscious, but help me if you want me to pause. I'll just keep going. Okay, so there is one for a couple of things that I'm most excited to share, but I'm just gonna go through my notes. Okay, so another quality, not thinking yourself to be the proprietor. That means not thinking that you own anything, that anything's yours. It's actually a fascinating thing that I started to like it because I don't live like that. I think my husband as my time, my children, like reflecting on me and like I'm just my bank account, everything, like yeah, I don't relate to that thinking like that, but it's actually just to take 5 minutes and be like, yeah, none of this is like, to realize like all this was here before me and all of it will be here after me, and I'm just passing through. It's like, it's nice actually. It can be liberating to um just like to free ourselves from possession. um and there's a nice example of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's just a small example, but when he was young, 5 years old, I think he ate mango before it was offered. And of course, in the Vaishnava tradition, we say a prayer, we offer food to God first before eating. And he found out that he ate a mango um, without it being offered, and that was offensive. And so when he found that out, he made a vow as a child to never eat mango again. So I don't know if it's exactly related, but it's definitely a saintly quality to be like, oh, I would never want to offend God and just take something for myself for my own gratification. So I think it relates to not believing you're the proprietor, like that, like that's my mango, eating it, and like forgetting God in that moment was painful for him, and he committed and he never ate mango again. Um, and I have a little clip of a video to show you from another example of not thinking oneself the proprietor, and I'll share a little before. It's a clip from a movie about Saint Francis of Assisi. It's a really good movie. I suggest, you see, it's called Brother, Sun, Sister, and Moon. That's the name of the movie. And so Saint Francis of Assisi, he was born into a wealthy family, and he was sent to a war. No, Italy or France. I don't think it's Italy, but I think he was going from having like sent to a war that had to do with a battle with France. But anyway, and he went to war and he became disillusioned with war, and he became disillusioned with everything in material society, and he was having like having like a breakdown at some point when he hadn't fully transitioned to fully, like he had a vow of poverty, and he created an order. An order is like a sect with it. It was acknowledged by the Pope and allowed by the Pope that he would have his own Franciscan order. I don't know what it was called exactly, but before he made that transition, he was in a battle of like returning to his home, wearing wealthy clothes, where like basically owning and being a part of the wealth. And part of his process was seeing poor people and just feeling like he wanted to give to them. And I won't say too much more, but so the clip that I'm going to show you, I'll have to share the screen. It's just a small clip, but um he like was in church with his family, and this clip is after that. So he was in church with his family and kind of like feeling like dizzy, or like kind of like he's feeling like he can't stay in the room because he noticed all the like maybe all the ornaments or the wealth or something. He was like, this is feeling like this isn't godly. I think that's kind of what he was feeling. That this is not the path for me. He really wanted to have a vow of poverty, I believe. Anyway, so he leaves. He goes to this church that was demolished in the movie. He rebuilds the whole entire church out, away from the city. But he goes to the church and he sees a painting of Jesus, which you'll see, and then he's like had this inspiration at that moment, and he returns to his father's place, and he let's see, you'll see what happens. Well, I don't want to. I think I'll just go ahead and tell you, and then you'll just see it for fun. But he just like realizes that they could get rid of all their wealth, and that there's like this isn't real wealth, and like he starts dispersing of all of his father's belongings to the public. So it's really funny. Um, so I'll put it up here. Okay, guys, this is just a small clip. Let's see, so they can see it. His father was a merchant of like fine cloths and like carpets and cloths like that. And that's his father there. That's his father? Yeah.
Is that his wife?
That's the mom. Yeah, his wife.
Smiling.
So he bring all right. So he brings his son to the bishop to put him on trial, for whatever, like, I don't know, thievery or whatever, but when he's there, he realizes Saint Francis realizes that let me stop the share. Saint Francis, hold on. Um, I don't think that the guest heard that. I didn't share the audio. I'm sorry. So when Saint Francis is brought by his father to the bishop, he um, realizes that the clothes on his back aren't his. So he takes them off in front of the public. He takes everything off and they're like, no. And the bishop gives him a cloak then, and he's covered again and he ends up wearing rags for the rest of his life, just, the low quality. He didn't want to wear anything. And he was always wanted to give to the poor and not own anything, not have anything. And so this is an example of not believing yourself to be the proprietor, but he really realized it in a deep way. And that whole movie is really inspiring. So it might be fun to watch. Also, it's good to watch with children. Like, we watched it with our kids within the last year, and it was fruitful conversation, and they were engaged the whole time. So it's a good movie. So, I don't really want to weigh you down with a bunch of examples that I have on this paper. I feel like I'm not sure how long we've been going and how much time we have, but I'll speak for maybe 10 more minutes or something as a maximum, and we can open for discussion. So what I'll go,
Once you're excited,
let's just go to
that's
the,
the ones that
I'll just skip to those right now. So yeah, so I'll just say that there are examples of being free from false ego. Jad Bharat Maharaj, Julie, for example, Gaura Kishore Das Babaji, okay, let me just get to the things that I wanted to share. It's these examples, these quotes of these that are really like touching to me. So Saint Therese of Lisieux, I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's a saint in the Catholic tradition, and she has a book that she wrote. So she was like required to write a book, and she didn't really want to write a book just for her own purposes, but because her like authority, a mother at a convent, and I don't know, it was like I think it's 1800s, told her that she needed to write a book. So she wrote her own life story and gave examples from her life just by who she is. So you get examples of her devotion to God, her pure devotion to God. But she also like admits to her flaws, but then her flaws are like how she transforms. She like has it within her to transform her consciousness. And which is, I want to show these examples to you. There's two examples where she was disturbed by other people, that she was the other nuns in the convent. And then the way she transformed it is just really cool. So and so this is what's most exciting to me to share, is some quotes from these saints, from the saints. So, and this is related to being equal in both happiness and distress. So she was distressed, but she ends up she actually experiences ecstasy from the distress, which is just this other level. It's really cool. So it's a simple example, but simple stories, but still fascinating. Okay, so this is a quote. This is her sharing. It wasn't always in such transports of joy that I practiced charity. But at the beginning of my religious life, Jesus wanted to have me experience how sweet it is to see him in the souls of his brides. When I was guiding Sister Saint Pierre, oh, someone's showing me. I had someone stuck in the waiting room. Okay. Okay. When I was guiding Sister Saint Pierre, I did it with so much love that just making sure that I could not possibly have done better had I been guiding Jesus himself. The practice of charity, as I have said, dear mother, was not always so sweet for me, and to prove it to you, I am going to recount certain little struggles, which will certainly make you smile. For a long time at evening meditation, I was placed in front of a sister who had a strange habit, and I think many lights, because she rarely used a book during meditation. Lights, I imagine she means like inner light, I'm not sure. This is what I noticed. As soon as the sister arrived, she began making a strange little noise, which resembled the noise one would make when rubbing two shells, one against the other. I was the only one to notice it because I had extremely sensitive hearing, too much so at times. Mother, it would be impossible for me to tell you how much this little noise worried me. I had a great desire to turn my head and stare at the culprit, who was very certainly unaware of her click. This would be the only way of enlightening her. However, in the bottom of my heart, I felt it was much better to suffer this out of love for God and not to cause the sister any pain. I remained calm, therefore, and tried to unite myself to God and to forget the little noise. Everything was useless. I felt the perspiration inundate me, and I was obliged simply to make a prayer of suffering. However, while suffering, I searched for a way of doing it without annoyance and with peace and joy, at least in the interior of my soul. I tried to love the little noise, which was so displeasing, instead of trying not to hear it, impossible. I paid close attention so as to hear it well, as though it were a delightful concert, and my prayer, which was not the prayer of quiet, was spent in offering this concert to Jesus. I don't know. I don't know if you would like, it's just like, can you imagine like if you transformed your heart inside as you went about your day and like perceived the world as a gift and offer to Prabhupada or to God, it'd just be like it'd just be like so incredible to live like that. Because instead, what do we do? We judge and we comment. I mean, this I really, this morning inspired by the class, inspired by Saint Teresa of Lisieux, I made a joke to my husband. I said, "Thank you." I won't go into detail. But thank you for how you're behaving, which because
It was gratitude. I felt it.
thank you. I mean, and when I spoke to him, I said the specifics of how he was acting, but in front of you all, I said, "Thank you for how you're behaving. It's helping me cultivate saintly qualities."
You're fascinating.
So I was trying to imagine myself as grateful and no, but and but like but that just the joke at least did transform the moment. It did transform my anxiety, judgments, and wishing he were different. It did transform me, at least to make a joke about it. You guys like that example? So yeah, but no, I really do want to. I feel like I've just spent my personally, maybe the reason why this topic is so meaningful to me is because I really have spent a lot of time in my life judging and wishing other things were different outside of me, the world, society, the husband, the kids, like, oh, like, no, 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 no. Like, just kind of having this, like, it shouldn't be like that feeling often. Community, spiritual community, this, that, like people, and it's really self-righteous, and it's in a type of illusion to be thinking that the world or anything should be different than what it is. So when I think of cultivating saintly behavior, I feel like there's such a liberation there, like especially for someone like me. And I mean, I'm sure all of us can relate, like judging and just being disturbed, and like there's so much to be swayed by all the ups and downs. Things aren't going my way again. Like, oh, it's a disturbance again. Now I have an interpersonal problem again. Now I have, and just being weighed down by it all instead of like welcoming it and having an internal transformation. It feels like that would be so liberating. Like, I now feel ready to really, not that, I mean, I've been trying to do personal growth, but I feel like there's inner work that I still haven't touched, and it would be nice to go ahead and do some more inner transformation for how I'm going about the world. So how I'm going about things in life. So here's another example from the same Saint Teresa of Lisieux. It's a short example. And so she says, another time I was in the laundry doing the washing in front of a sister who was throwing dirty water into my face every time she lifted the handkerchiefs to her bench. My first reaction was to draw back, wipe my face to show the sister who was sprinkling me that she would do me a favor to be more careful. But I immediately thought I would be very foolish to refuse these treasures, which were being given to me so generously. I feel like crying. And I took care not to show my struggle. I put forth all my efforts to desire receiving very much of this dirty water, and was so successful that in the end I had really taken a liking to this kind of aspersion, and I promised myself to return another time to this nice place where one received so many treasures. Like this is like it really reveals this saintly qualities. It's just like it just sounds so transformative to me, and beautiful and exciting. Like there's an adventure, then life can become an adventure of receiving what's coming your way, just to receive what comes, and not avoid, not to not have to have a personal preference anymore. Like we could, and that is what Srila Prabhupada and the spiritual masters of this world, they're the bona fide representatives of God. They have come to give us, a way out from this trap of wanting to have the material world go the way that we want to, and have our lives go the way we want, and having to have it a certain way, the way we want, our dream, our vision. And it's fine to have it. It is natural to have desires and visions and dreams, and we will suffer if they're not aligned with the absolute truth, with God's will. There will be some suffering there because we're out of alignment with how we were designed to be. Like, there's like a simple truth to it, although it's difficult because there's so many life areas, and there's our whole history. And then, maybe right now we're in the middle of pursuing a dream, and there's like a mode of passion, and there's like a preference. And, to think of like loosening the grip of our preferences is that's a big challenge. It's a very big challenge. And, but there's still, it's like for those of us wanting closeness with God, we want to hear what's dear to him. And he is saying multiple times, especially in these verses, they kind of repeat themselves, the qualities. And there are more qualities that he can describe, like Krishna describes in other places, but multiple times in these verses he's saying, not dependent on the ordinary cause of activities, and not put into difficulties, not disturbing others, steady in happiness and distress. Like there's kind of repeated multiple times to be equiposed and detached from how life goes. And what's like hopeful is that we can associate with Srila Prabhupada and the pure devotees from any of the past. There are saintly people we can when we hear from them and spend time with them, it starts to feel possible and it starts to plant that vision in our minds. And so there's an importance in this class that I want to share on association, like what sound vibration and are we associating with, what are we hearing from, what are we consuming in our lives, and is it supporting the ultimate goal to return to our eternal nature as loving servants of God. So I'll try to end it finish soon. I'm looking to see if there's anything I really needed to say. I'll share this quote from another saint, Saint Teresa of Avila. Let nothing perturb you, nothing frighten you. All things pass. God does not change. Patience achieves everything. I really have a lot of other examples. I learned about Joan of Arc. You know her story? It's fascinating. I don't think I'll even share it, but it's like she was 13. Okay, yeah. She was 13 and had a vision from like these angels came and told her. I'll just have a little bit longer of a class. I'll talk a little longer. But Joan of Arc, she had this divine like message or dreams that came to her like with Saint Michael and like Catherine and Margaret or something. There's like these angels or saints. They came and told her to lead the French army at a certain time and in battle with the English. And by that time had come, and so she made her way to Pope or like the general, I think the general, and was like, we have to do this, and like took a stand for what she was, the instructions. She was 16 and she said, I have to lead the troops. And did you know this? Anyway, I heard of Joan of Arc, but I've never actually heard her story. And she had armor and a banner and a horse, and she led the troops at this particular time. And like something she said came to pass, so they believed that she had a divine inspiration and believed her and led, and she was given that chance to lead the troops. But there was a lot of question about like, was she there was a whole inquisition about her, and she was burned at the stake for taking a stand of at age 19. She was killed for her beliefs, for being a heretic. Like heretic, I think, is someone who's claiming spiritual authority or something like this, but not actually true. So it's actually like seen as very, I don't know what heretic is, to be honest. I think that's what heretic is. If you want to, anybody want to, nobody, but anyway, so I don't know what that is an example of. I do have it. It was listed under like being determined. So one of the qualities, always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination. So she just had this great determination. She was like a peasant. She was not like anyone related to the wealthy or the military. But Joan of Arc just had that determination. Like, I have to do this, and like kind of set her whole comfort and like childhood aside to, her life, gave her life to the instructions that came to her from other pure devotees, apparently. I don't know, you guys, but
I did the story where Prabhupada says that Joan of Arc is Bhagavatam. He says like,
yeah, that her stories are included in the whole the Bhagavatam. There's more to the Bhagavatam than what we get on this planet. We get these, which is a lot for us. But there's even more. Like the Bhagavatam is everything that glorifies God, right? Like it's, and the pure, all the pure devotees, all the devotional activities. The Srimad Bhagavatam is more than we can access. Is that kind of the idea?
I'm not sure. I just know there's like some
Yeah.
pastime where Prabhupada's like somebody's talking about what about Joan of Arc, and he's like Joan of Arc is Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Like it's on that same level. Like
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah. So if Prabhupada says it, then she was the pure devotee. I guess it's just it's crazy. So I'm excited about the saintly qualities, but like how can we even try to cultivate some of these qualities? And Prabhupada does say in the purport, oops, hold on. What the sentence he is a completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master, and because his senses are controlled and he is determined. So this says more, but basically what I want to highlight is that we can fix ourselves in the instructions received from the spiritual master, and that would be like the key to becoming saintly is following instructions from the spiritual master. And there's there's positive things to do, like the chanting of God's names and reading and hearing from the pure devotees. And then there's things to gradually decline, association with. So there's like what we can reject, what's not favorable to devotional service, and then accept what is favorable. And then there's regulative principles of freedom, which Prabhupada does mention as well in this verse. Prabhupada says, such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare, but a devotee becomes situated in that stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. And, Srila Prabhupada had names for main ones to consider, regulating, which is Prabhupada's recommending not eating meat, not taking intoxicants in our lives, not gambling, and not having illicit sex, so regulated sex life within marriage. So those are 4 main regulative principles. And of course, there's many other instructions and suggestions and guidelines given. And Srila Prabhupada's very fully clear. And the Bhagavad-gita is really like a manual of how to transform your consciousness to become an instrument of God. And so there's plenty of instructions. And of course, we have to have the desire to do it. And we get that desire from association, like hearing and associating together. Like we came here, we did some saintly behavior together. We did something saintly this Sunday, like to hear from Prabhupada and the saints, and to eat prasadam and sing the names of God. So the association today is going to give us a boost, and we can continue every day to have association with other people practicing, and from our mentors and teachers, and then ultimately our spiritual master. Daily association, and then taking on the instructions and practicing and keeping it going will help us to possibly get there where we can have these qualities of the saints. And also still inspired by Saint Therese of Lisieux, she wanted to be a saint, and from her childhood she wanted to be a saint, which is kind of fascinating to think, like sometimes I think if somebody wants to be a saint, it sounds so arrogant, like you want recognition, like you want to be labeled by the church and recognized, but that's not, but Catholics, actually, it turns out, even to this day, like modern day, like there's like Instagram account like called to be a saint or something like that, and there's blogs and articles about how to become a saint, and for the regular everyday people. And I do think that is what God wants, is everyone to return to their pure state, which is saintly. And so Saint Therese of Lisieux, she said that she was taking the little way. So she knew that there were like these martyrs that she and I would love to share another quote with you. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll share one more quote with you at the end. But she did. So we'll finish this thought, and then one more quote from Saint Therese of Lisieux. And there's many others that I couldn't access, and this is one I dived. This woman I dived more into her reading, so I happen to have more connection to her right now. But there's obviously more. So the little way. She said, if you wish to be a saint, it is not hard. Have one aim: to please Jesus and unite yourself more intimately to him. And also 2 more quotes from her. Miss no single opportunity of making some small sacrifice. Here by a smiling look, there by a kindly word, always doing the smallest right and doing it all for love. She really moves me. And remember that nothing is small in the eyes of God. Do all you do with love. So she's just saying, like, little by little, the little way of making a small sacrifice, doing it with kindness, just giving, just little by little, giving letting our false ego that, like who I am and me and what I wanted, and like letting it sort of fall away by small sacrifices done with love. And I think that's just really sweet encouragement from her. I'm going to go ahead and share one more thing from Saint Teresa because she described, and I didn't prepare it on my paper, but oh, I'm sorry. It's going to take me just a moment, but I have to. I've already started, and it's just good. So it's in a message I recently sent. Okay. Sorry. Okay, here it is. Okay. So, okay. In spite of my littleness, I would like to enlighten souls as did the prophets and the doctors. Doctors is a phrase in the Catholic Church when you're officially um a saint or something, like you're like it takes a lot to become a doctor. So the prophets and the doctors. I have the vocation of the apostle. I would like to travel over the whole earth to preach your name and to plant your glorious cross on infidel soil. But, oh my beloved, one mission alone would not be sufficient for me. I would want to preach the gospel on all 5 continents simultaneously, and even to the most remote isles. I would be a missionary, not for a few years only, but from the beginning of creation until the consummation of the ages. But above all, oh my beloved Savior, I would shed my blood for you, even to the very last drop. Martyrdom was the dream of my youth, and this dream has grown with me within Carmel's cloisters. Carmel is the convent that she's at. But here again, I feel that my dream is a folly, for I cannot confine myself to desiring one kind of martyrdom. To satisfy me, I need all. Like you, my adorable spouse, I would be scourged and crucified. I would die flayed like Saint Bartholomew. I would be plunged into boiling oil like Saint John. I would undergo all the tortures inflicted upon the martyrs. With Saint Agnes and Saint Cecilia, I would present my neck to the sword. And like Joan of Arc, my dear sister, I would whisper this at the stake your name, O Jesus. When thinking of the torments which will be the lot of Christians at the time of Antichrist, I feel my heart leap with joy, and I would that these torments be reserved for me. Jesus, Jesus, if I wanted to write all of my desires, I would have to borrow your book of life. For in it are reported all the actions of all the saints, and I would accomplish all of them for you. Hare Krishna. It's just like, so there's like that's even more than just like equal in happiness and distress. That's like I like my heart's leaping for joy at the idea of being persecuted for you. That's like real love for someone. Like how we might feel for like maybe like protecting our baby or something. Like she calls him adorable spouse. And um it's just like this intense, genuine devotion to God that people really do they really do have inside them. It's just like it's just so beautiful to hear it from them directly like that. Those prayers, and there's so many prayers from the Vaishnav saints and from Christian saints, and I even tried to find a Muslim saint, but I couldn't in my time frame. I didn't find one, but I know they exist. Anyway, thank you for receiving my class, and I'll repeat the verse again, um, and then we'll happy to have a little conversation. So, one who is not envious, but who is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego and equal both in happiness and distress, who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me, he is very dear to me. So please share with me any thoughts or questions. Thank you again. We can talk a little bit and then we'll do a kirtan and prashad and lunch. Thank you. Happy to hear from you all. Unless there's nothing to be said, I must have astounded you.
I'll share.
You want to hear your side?
Yeah, you want
Side
to
of this more.
other side of the story.
Well, yeah, I've been appreciating just consciousness shift in our home since you had this inspiration come to you, I guess a couple weeks ago. And even though you were working with Mother Molyneux on, you know, what the class would be like, and you ended up leading the class, and I've just been really appreciating just hearing about your journey, researching different saints and the quality of the saints, and really thinking about like in my life, like just my journey of being exposed to different kinds of consciousness and different types of moods and paradigms and perspectives of how individuals, live life, and really the impact of really coming into contact and really getting to know intimately Srila Prabhupada. I feel like Prabhupada is probably the most the saint that I've gotten the most intimately close with. I mean, I've heard a little bit about, I really love Saint Francis's mood. Um, and but I feel like just the effect that it's had on me, I can see like how you were speaking to association and how the impact of the association of spending regular time with individuals with saintly qualities, how for me personally it's given me another level of like, well, looking at my own consciousness and my own mood and my own perspectives and paradigms of how I'm living, giving me um uh, a new way that I could be in this world and be in my experience with my creator. Um, I think what stands out for me the most is like seeing everything as a gift. I feel like that's kind of the newest kind of addition to like I'm really endeavoring like to take that on. I've been for a good year now, like, just getting used to just really, or just kind of keeping that in the forefront of my consciousness, like, um, and seeing how much different life is, like just seeing everything as a gift. Um, and yeah, just feeling like my life feels so much more amazing because of that particular perspective. And yeah, so I'm just really been appreciating, like I said, just your journey and hearing about different saints and how how that affects my own way of seeing the world and seeing life. um yeah, so I guess that's what I wanted to share. Thank you for your class and yeah, your inspiration and just bringing that into my world, and it's been really supportive for me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I like how you said that, like seeing everything as a gift. That's exactly what being equal in happiness and distress is. And so coming at it from different angles, but there's an overlap there of what you're already focused on, which is like receiving life as a gift for yourself, as a gift to you. And it's a saintly quality to have that. And Srila Prabhupada is the main saint that you associate with, and he's transformed your life and is transforming your life. And you're grateful for the gift.
Yeah. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
You the beginning of the class, remember, it's not just the beginning. Change. If we're not in the service of, if we're not in the service of God, God is the absolute truth. So if we're not in service to the absolute truth, then we're in service to something else, which is illusion, because it's not based on the absolute truth. So I just thought of like, the opposite of the truth is like a lie. So that just came out to me like in my consciousness, like, yeah, that's God's the supreme truth, absolute truth. And so if we're not serving that, then we're serving some sort of lie or illusion or like falsehood or
Yeah.
something like that. So I kind of made it strong. It's like like I want to be truthful. I want to be. I don't want to be participating in a lie or something like that. And then yeah, I appreciate so this Mother Teresa is like someone's annoying her and uh she's like, oh, let me like really listen to that
Mhm.
annoying thing, like where I really just let me hear instead of trying not to hear it, like which is like
Yeah.
resisting the experience, like let me just like really hear that noise and hear that annoying thing and I was just on the way over, I was talking with Rohini about our kids because
The sound.
our kids are like, they used to be cute and sweet. Like you have a little one over here, they used to be like that, like, adorable and cute and sweet and like making nice little noises and things. Like now that like doesn't happen anymore, like very rarely. Is there any like cute, adorable, and kind of sweet, it's more so like finding a lot of annoying, like these kids are annoying. It's annoying. And so I felt like that was perfect timing
For you.
to hear that, to be like, okay, yeah, yeah. Let me just like really, that's a big, that would be a big
Send that quote to
transformation.
you. Yeah.
Hear it like a concert. She's like hearing it like a
I
concert.
paid close attention so as to hear it well, as though it were a delightful concert.
Yeah.
Like equally as beautiful as your wife's singing
Yeah,
voice,
yeah.
as your children's
And then offer it to
complaints.
God, like, because
And then
you wouldn't want to offer an annoying concert. So it's like first you need to like transform to like accept it that this is a beautiful thing because you can't offer it if it's annoying. If it's like annoying,
Yeah.
frustrating thing, you're not going to offer that because the person has to be transformed to that it's this beautiful symphony concert and then offer it. So that's
It's far out, isn't it? Kind of far out doing
yeah.
that. That's what's really moving me in the class is just this internal drive that the saints have of like, I'm going to make this connected to God. This is connected to God. I'm receiving it as a gift from God. I'm giving it as a gift to God. There's no barrier to that, that part of the soul, that core, that like, it is in us, that desire to just be totally surrendered and give and receive, give and receive like freely, all in connection to God. And anyway, yeah.
When you were speaking about the Saint Francis, I was reminded of thinking of the beginning of the Bhagavatam is prayers by Queen Kunti. And she prays at one point, may these calamities come again and again. And most of us, something goes wrong. Even I stub my toe. It's like, oh, who did? Somebody left that on the floor. It's their fault. We're always quick to blame things, and rather than thinking, oh, this is Krishna's mercy that he's helping me understand I'm not this body. And our problems that we run into seem so small. Like look what Queen Kunti went through. She had to see her sons battle against each other and the whole kingdom torn apart. And so her determination and whatever misery, pain, and suffering came, she says, by these calamities, it helps me to remember you, my dear Lord, Krishna. So when we're having some challenge, I guess one of the points of your class is, okay, we read about these saints. How does that apply to me? How can I practically put that in my life? When I take personal inventory, I don't see so many of those qualities there. So how do I make them? How can I develop them? And that's by hearing from and associating with devotees. So thank you for your presentation, because it's not just in the Bhagavatam you read about saints, but you're reading about just Christian saints, Catholic saints, and they're very special people.
Mhm.
Thank
Thank you. Yeah, Queen Kunti. Thank you for bringing up Queen Kunti. She crossed my mind during preparation too. And I think you're the one who brought her up yesterday too. Yeah, there's so many examples. And I'll be honest, like reading these books, and I see a hand up one moment, and there was a quote too, or a comment. Mother Anasuya said, "Receiving your class is a gift." Hare Krishna. Thank you. But I'll be honest, I resist hearing from pure devotees, and that when I contact them, there's just so much self-reflection that happens, and it's not comfortable. So even though it's, you know, sometimes I can just really receive it as a gift for me, and other times it's just painful to read because I'm thinking I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm like judging myself, and it's a heavy feeling sometimes reading from Srila Prabhupada or associating with the saints. So sometimes I'm avoiding it. To be honest, over the years I avoided reading quite a bit. So it wasn't like I've been reading daily. I've been avoiding the association. At the same time, I know there's like liberation there, and so it's nice to have different angles. Like sometimes putting on a lecture and hearing it, or hearing a lecture that's not directly Prabhupada, or hearing from the Christians. Like I still want to hear. Like I know it's my goal. It's the direction I'm going in my life. It's still my value system to like associate with pure devotees or the saints. But sometimes maybe just Srila Prabhupada can be a little cutting, and I love it. I love him, but I'm also challenged. And there's a hand up here that's been waiting. So welcome, Haripriya. And
I
then
wanted to respond to what you shared.
oh well,
Reflection, but I'll pause.
okay, Bhakti Oasis. I'm gonna have Haripriya respond first to something.
Well, I just wanted to, like, in Sattva style, share what I heard you say, and that might be a mirror for looking at what's going on for you when you read Prabhupada's books, because I can resonate. And basically what I heard is that when you read Srila Prabhupada's books and he speaks about what a devotee does, like what a pure devotee does, you're comparing yourself to that pure devotee, and you're wishing you were a pure devotee, and you're feeling like you're falling short of being that pure devotee, and that pain of feeling like you fall short, that you feel like you're supposed to be that way, is makes you distance yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, exactly. Hare Krishna, welcome. Please share Bhakti Oasis.
Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me. I've lost my voice a little bit today, so hopefully you guys can still hear me. I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay. So I appreciate your class so much, Mother Damayanti. Thank you so much for sharing. What came up for me was the idea of more tolerant than a tree, because it's easy for me to interpret that as being willing to suffer. The idea of suffering, tolerance of suffering, and just quietly being willing to accept suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's never been very fulfilling for me. And I've been really digging into that myself recently about what is it? Why am I suffering? Like, what is the suffering? And why do I interpret some sensory, as positive and some as negative, and the duality of that? Because if we really are spirit souls, there is no duality. I believe that. And so why is some sensory perception accepted easily and some rejected? And why is there this condition of suffering? And so I'm appreciating what you're saying here, because you're giving very, very clear examples of obvious. I mean, if obvious, right? It's all obvious. We wouldn't want to suffer like that. Who wants dirty water flicked in their face? Or who wants to have their limbs torn off or be burned at the stake? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be a martyr for God, except for these people, right? So they must be crazy. So I like to think that people are not crazy. I like to think that people actually have some sort of insight into why they would choose these actions for their lives. And, I've been really digging into the scientific chemical composition of why our brains interpret the things the way they do. Not that I feel like science has all the answers, but sometimes it can demystify the complexity of what it is that I'm experiencing, to see, like, on a chemical basis what's happening with like an analytical, non-emotional perspective. And what is happening is true. We don't actually have, on a chemical level, any need except for balance. So when things are difficult or when things are easy, all we're seeking chemically is balance. So if we seek discomfort, we will get chemically support, relief for that. There will come, dopamine will come, it will tap in. That's why people have the desire to work hard at the gym. That's why they suffer. They have like a suffering experience. And then the body responds by releasing the dopamine, by giving increased muscle mass, by giving increased bone density. And then the suffering is reduced. The suffering is reduced in real time, and the suffering is reduced over the lifetime when we seek out doing difficult things, things that are perceived as suffering in the moment. And Prabhupada's clear about that. Things which seem like nectar are poison, things that seem like poison are nectar. Like we love donuts at our house. And I can't tell you how many times I love donuts, but then do I love the insulin spike? Do I love the sluggishness? Do I love the irritability, the inability to get up the next morning because I didn't sleep well? No, I don't love that. Do I necessarily consciously understand the suffering that I'm inflicting on myself by eating the delicious sugary donut? Not in real time, but I appreciate the consciousness of the saints where in real time they're exercising what I would call sobriety to understand that it's not suffering. We're not just tolerating, in a way of abstract suffering to show our devotion, that it really is a joyous experience to get out of the duality of the pleasure pain cycle and the hedonist treadmill and get with sobriety. Service is really the way out of the duality, and to become clear about where is our consciousness in the result when we're undertaking these actions, independent of that moment of discomfort, because we're not here forever. This is a very temporary experience. And I see them taking a very long, eternal view, even in this lifetime. And it's inspiring. So I appreciate you linking that. It's a missing piece of this puzzle that I've been looking at. Yeah. So Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Damayanti.
Thank you for your intelligence and sharing your research. And yeah, it feels like there's something exciting out there in that outside of the comfort zone. Like we all do have a comfort zone, and there's something exciting out there, like especially if it's pertaining to something spiritual or eternal, like something really exciting to that's what I'm hearing is like there is a reward for acting in the mode of goodness or pure goodness. There are rewards actually, and we forget that though in the temporary moment where the donuts are being served and we bought them or even in the mouth and the stomach, but then so we have to watch ourselves anyway.
We don't want to reject prasadam, that's for sure. So if there's a prasadam, it doesn't count.
Right. Maybe. Anyway, thank you. Thank you all. Any other comments or questions? Thank you all for the class. Bhagavad-gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, Shivaya Krishna Krishna Vijay Shivaji Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Shri Devi Bhagavani Pashvini Shri Hari Bhashta Today Shri Thank you, Damayanti. Thank you. All right, let me press stop. And